Listen to that sweet Sid audio. This is Redrunner.
The final worm tier, like a frontier.
Yeah guys, I don't know if that pun really works. Fortunately, the game works great. It's a classic arcade-style game that was a independent production from 2012 and put out by Cytronic. Now, it's a single-screen arena shooter, and you might be tempted to compare it to something like Geometry Wars or Robotron, but it actually has more in common with something like Redrunner, which I'm pretty sure the title directly refers to. Redrunner is a Jeff Minter game, the guy behind classics like Tempest 2000 and later Space Giraffe. He was busy in the Commodore and VIC days making really cool, very busy, flashy shoot-'em-up games with just this sort of pace. And a similar pace, too. For some reason, the level titles remind me a little bit of the game Ancipidal that he made. Now, of course, Minter wasn't involved with this game, but this is a love letter to the Minter style. So, it's very busy, but here's what's going on. You move the yellow dot in the middle of the screen, and it fires in 4 directions simultaneously, just by hitting the button. The stages go by fast. You have to get the appropriate number of kills for each stage, that's shown in the bottom of the screen. And as soon as you meet that goal, you're whisked away to a new level.
Complete extra hit awarded.
Each stage is pretty simple, but they tend to have a unique theme, like this one's called Bug Nest, and the one coming up after this is called Bullet Time, a reference to the Matrix movies, where everything is slow. So watch this. So yeah, each level comes with its own gimmick or hook, and that helps keep things really fresh. And in the middle of all this great chaos are power-ups. Some of them increase your firing rate, some of them turn all the enemies into mushrooms, centipede kind of mushrooms. Some of them destroy all the enemies on the screen. So there's, a good variety of power-ups as well. I believe one of the power-ups is vodka. I think that's the rapid-fire one. Unfortunately, I'm recording this off my Commodore 64C, which is a later model, and the sound chip on that doesn't do speech very well. So that's why it's kind of muted and scratchy. Now, I read a review that claims that a weakness of the game is that you can stay in the middle of the screen and just fire and beat the levels. Now, on the earlier stages that is true. However, once you get later in the game, you'll really need some good shmuppy dodging technique to make it through. You're also going to need something better than RF video to see what the heck is going on in this game. I use S-Video myself. Now, Redrunner also comes with Greenrunner, the game from 2006. Now, in some ways, I prefer this to Redrunner, but in other ways, it's a bit rougher, and I find the difficulty curve to be a little bit more uneven in this one. Now, Redrunner isn't just a remake, it's a different game. Some of the levels are the same, some of them are new. Actually, most of them are new. And in this one, I feel that although the colors chosen tend to blend to the background more, for some reason, I feel like the sharpness of the graphics makes things easier to discern. I think this one is in the high resolution text mode, and the other one's the multicolor lower resolution mode.
Sound complete. Bonus points.
One thing that does irk me a little bit about this game is that everything is a text character, or a background tile rather. And I understand, it's an 8-bit system, 1 megahertz, with this much stuff in motion. You can't just use sprites for everything, it'll be just a complete flicker fest. And this has a really impressive number of moving objects for any Commodore game. And if that's not enough, look how everything leaves these really cool glittery trails behind. And you need to animate those and keep track of everything. This game is very impressive. But still, I really do wish that they had used sprites in some capacity in this game. Like a lot of good shmups or arena shooters, this game has a really nice zone-out quality to it. And that trancy music that makes such good use of the sound chip really propels you along. This is the Commodore's Res, though this one takes, I think, a little bit more skill, which is too bad. I think there are 100 levels to survive in this game, which is a lot. I mean, I think I peaked out about 20. The game starts easy enough, but then eventually gets so difficult that you'll really have to be completely locked in to pass the levels. Again, that's how a good arena shooter should be. And if you should need a break from the runner games, you also get a synthesizer you can play with. This uses the Commodore keyboard as a sort of 2-octave synthesizer keyboard, kind of like a tracker does if you've ever used one of those. And you can adjust all these parameters like you have a real synthesizer, which you do because the SID in the Commodore 64 is like a junior version of a Moog or something. It has analog filters and digital oscillators, and you can modulate all kinds of stuff together. It's a really cool chip, and this lets you really kind of play with it in a very techno-oriented fashion. I believe this is the same synth engine that they're using in the game. Also wanted to show you guys and gals what the packaging looks like. Now, I ordered this from Cytronic Software, and I got it for my tape drive because at the time I wasn't sure if my disk drive worked. Now, in the US, you don't often get games on tape. So for me, this was actually kind of a novelty. I had never gotten a Commodore game in cassette form with a nicely printed jacket and everything. And Cytronic did such a great job with the packaging and everything and the artwork. It's all very nicely printed on glossy paper. Though I think the stickers actually came with Guns and Ghosts, another game from these guys. Well, from the same publisher at least, not the same author. Now, a lot of people get really confused when I show them tape games for the first time because they're thinking, well, on a disc or cartridge, I can access any level at any time. Do you have to keep the tape running when the game plays? And the answer is no. It loads entirely into memory, and then you play it. And here's what the thing looks like when it's loading. The bars on the side are really common, and that lets you know that it's reading the tape and getting data off it. If that ever stops or turns a weird color, you know that loading has failed. Now, one thing I noticed is that Commodore fans in Europe seem to really like these tape loaders, and we didn't really get any of these here. These loaders are really cool because they draw this picture, the art on the screen, at the same time they're playing some really cool music. There's a lot of music that you would hear in loaders that you wouldn't hear anywhere else. So I can kind of see why these have fans. It kind of kept you entertained because tapes can take a really long time to load. I usually play this game off my Ultimate 1541 cartridge. It's a flash cart, and in that case you don't get the tape loader, so sometimes I actually stick in the actual tape and suffer through the loading just to watch this kind of cool screen and hear the music and just kind of chill out before the game loads. Wash some dishes, make a sandwich, go shopping, come back,